Major moment for Ottawa's tech sector today as Nokia broke ground on a massive new research campus in Canada North. Leaders say the project will help shape the future of technology in this country and strengthen the country's role in a fast-moving digital world.
Nokia has just made a move that tells the whole story. When global tech giants look at North America today, the safest, smartest, and most forward-thinking place to build the future is no longer the United States. It's Canada. In a political moment defined by Trump-era tariffs, unpredictability, and trade fights on every front, Nokia has chosen Ottawa as the home of its next-generation research campus. And that single choice carries consequences far beyond a construction site. It signals a shift in where real innovation, real talent, and real strategic value are heading.
At Canada North, the country's largest technology park, Nokia broke ground on a massive new campus that will reshape Canada's tech landscape. The company is building a 750,000 square foot innovation center that will anchor its global work on AI-powered networks, cybersecurity infrastructure, smart city systems, clean energy grid integration, autonomous mobility, and the coming wave of 6G wireless technology. Executives emphasize that much of Canada's home internet backbone already runs on Nokia's technology, engineered in Ottawa, and the new campus will multiply that capability. The company confirmed that the site will house labs where Canadian researchers will develop the next generation of network intelligence and quantum-safe systems. More than 340 new high-skilled jobs will follow, with shovels in the ground within weeks and the doors opening by 2029. Federal and provincial governments are backing the vision. Under Prime Minister Mark Carney, Canada has committed $70 million to ensure that Nokia's 6G, cybersecurity, and sovereign AI work happens in Canada, not overseas. Officials highlighted that next-generation wireless technologies could add more than $200 billion to the national economy by 2040. But the deeper message is political. Canada wants to control the technology it relies on, and Nokia is becoming a cornerstone of that strategy. One line from the event captured the moment better than any press release. "This is what sovereign AI looks like: employing Canadians, building tech right here, and deploying it globally."
Nokia's expansion plays directly into Canada's push for sovereign AI, the ability to design, secure, and control the technology that underpins everything from emergency services to financial systems. This idea has moved from academic conversations to national policy under Carney. Canada wants its own AI infrastructure, not one shaped by foreign politics or unpredictable allies. While Canada builds, the United States is shrinking its talent pipeline. Trump's visa restrictions and aggressive trade maneuvers have made the country's tech ecosystem less attractive. AI researchers who once leaned towards Silicon Valley are now looking north, where the political climate is calmer, immigration pathways are straightforward, and research labs like Nokia's Ottawa campus are expanding rather than contracting. In this moment, Nokia's presence is proof that Canada is not waiting for the U.S. to regain stability. It is creating its own technological center of gravity.
Trump's trade agenda has destabilized supply chains across the U.S. technology sector. Tariffs on key components, threats of 100% duties, and constant uncertainty have created a business environment that global firms openly describe as unpredictable. Nokia is too diplomatic to say this publicly, but the dynamics are obvious. The United States is no longer the most efficient or reliable place to build large-scale telecom innovation. Canada, on the other hand, has become the trusted partner. That phrase, trusted partner, appeared multiple times during the groundbreaking event, and it wasn't accidental. In a geopolitical environment marked by tariffs, sanctions, trade wars, and diplomatic tension, reliability has become a strategic advantage. Carney's government is offering exactly that: predictability, long-term industrial strategy, and a stable policy environment where R&D can flourish. For Nokia, the contrast is stark. Canada is building an ecosystem that aligns with the company's vision for AI-driven networks and next-generation wireless. The U.S. is building trade barriers. The global race for 6G is not a theoretical contest. It is a multi-billion-dollar battle over who will control the architecture of the future internet. Countries like South Korea, Japan, and Finland are accelerating investments. China has already declared 6G a national priority. And now, with Nokia's decision, Canada has positioned itself inside this elite circle. The campus will serve as a North American hub for 6G prototyping, quantum-resistant encryption, and advanced spectrum research. Kearney's industrial strategy, linking academia, federal labs, private firms, and immigration programs, is deliberately designed to give companies like Nokia an environment where long-term networks can be planned, tested, and scaled. By contrast, the United States is battling policy fragmentation. Spectrum planning disputes, supply chain tariffs, and political infighting have slowed its 5G build-out and clouded its 6G readiness. American carriers depend on imported equipment that is now tied up in tariff fights. Washington's focus has shifted from innovation leadership to trade retaliation, and the opportunity cost is piling up. Nokia choosing Canada is not an isolated event. It is a signal that global telecom leaders see where the real momentum is.
The deeper story behind this project is a shift in corporate calculus. Companies that manage critical infrastructure no longer rank the U.S. as the safest or most predictable partner. Canada has emerged as a stable, open, innovation-friendly jurisdiction with clear industrial planning and a globalist outlook. Nokia is responding to 4 key realities. Canada is politically stable. Canada welcomes global tech talent. Canada supports long-term research infrastructure. Canada is not weaponizing tariffs as a political tool. These factors combine into a powerful message. If you want to build the technologies that will run the 2030s and 2040s, Canada is the place to do it. Nokia's decision to expand in Ottawa is more than a corporate investment. It is a verdict on the direction of North American politics. Canada is acting like a nation that intends to lead the next technological era, while the United States, distracted by tariffs, trade wars, and domestic turmoil, is surrendering ground it once dominated. If Canada continues to secure projects like this, leverage its sovereign AI strategy, and position itself at the center of 6G development, the map of global innovation leadership will look very different by the next decade. The question now is simple. How many more Nokias will choose Canada next? And how long before Trump's America realizes it is losing the future it once claimed?
So Microsoft is putting big bucks into Canadian AI. Today, the American company announced a $19 billion investment into expanding Canada's AI sector over a 5-year period. It comes as concerns about Canada's digital sovereignty are growing.
Canada just saw something no one ever expected. A major American corporation went on national television to reassure Canadians because the relationship between Ottawa and Washington has deteriorated so badly under Donald Trump. Microsoft's vice chair appeared not to promote a product, not to announce a simple business expansion, but to effectively apologize on behalf of the United States and promise that Canada could trust his company even if it could no longer trust its closest neighbor. When a U.S. tech giant steps into the role usually reserved for diplomats, it tells us one thing very clearly. Canada's patience with Trump's America has run out, and American companies know it.
It's a year where we appreciate a level of frustration in Canada. We are investing more, $19 billion over 5 years, $7.5 billion in the next 2 years. Right. We want Canada to know that despite whatever issues arise between our two governments, the Canadian people can depend on Microsoft.
Microsoft has announced a staggering $19 billion investment into Canada's AI and cloud future. Brad Smith, the company's vice chair and president, traveled to Ottawa to meet key ministers and soon Prime Minister Mark Carney. But the real story wasn't the money. it was the tone. In his interview, Smith acknowledged that this has been a difficult year for the Canada-US relationship, and that Microsoft understands the frustration in Canada. It was an unusual moment, an American executive openly validating Canadian concerns about the behavior of the U.S. government. Smith laid out a detailed plan to protect Canada's digital sovereignty. He said Canadian data will remain in Canadian territory. He said Microsoft will encrypt information so securely that even if another government managed to seize it, it would be unreadable. And then came the line that stunned many viewers. Microsoft, if necessary, will go to court to defend Canadian data against the United States. He reminded Canadians that the company has sued both the Obama and the Trump administrations before, including taking cases all the way to the Supreme Court, and that it is prepared to do so again if Canada's sovereignty is threatened. Smith spoke with the tone of someone drawing a boundary, a promise that the political chaos in Washington would not interfere with Canadian rights, Canadian customers, or Canadian control over their own digital future.
The fact that Microsoft needed to make this intervention says everything about the moment we're living in. The United States, under Trump's second term, has become an unpredictable actor. Reuters, AP, and CBC have all documented the instability. Sudden tariffs on Canadian metals and autos, abrupt threats to tear up trade agreements, and a flurry of executive orders used to pressure allies and industries. Canadian officials privately described the environment as volatile, and Canada's ambassador to Washington recently resigned ahead of the 2026 CUSMA review because the relationship had become nearly impossible to manage. Against that backdrop, Microsoft's reassurance made perfect sense. Trump has created so much uncertainty that even U.S. companies are trying to calm Canada down. And Canada's response, whether stated directly or hinted through policy, is increasingly the same. If Washington can no longer be trusted, then Canada will build systems that do not depend on Washington at all. Prime Minister Mark Carney has been clear since taking office that Canada needs to secure its digital future. His government has accelerated clean electricity expansion, modernized cybersecurity rules, attracted global tech investment, and put digital sovereignty at the center of national strategy. Companies like Microsoft are not just buying servers and building data centers, they are attaching themselves to a country that is stable, predictable, powered by clean energy, and governed by institutions that behave rationally, the exact opposite of the political turbulence in Washington. There is also a broader geopolitical undercurrent. Trump's use of executive authority is far more aggressive in his second term. Canadian officials and journalists have raised concerns that the president could try to use data access the same way he has used tariffs, as a bargaining chip. Smith acknowledged this fear without saying Trump's name directly. He emphasized Microsoft's constant communication with the White House as if to reassure viewers that he is trying to prevent escalation before it happens. And then he delivered the real message. If Trump tries to weaponize data the way he has weaponized trade, Microsoft will not comply. That is a stunning declaration. A multinational corporation is drawing a line between itself and the President of the United States because it sees more long-term value in siding with Canada. It reinforces an emerging pattern visible throughout 2025. Global capital is shifting north. Investors are looking for stability. Technology companies want clean energy and predictable regulation. Nations in Europe and Asia increasingly view Canada as a safe anchor, while the U.S. political environment becomes more erratic. Trump wanted to make America the center of global industry again. Instead, his unpredictability is pushing allies, money, and innovation toward Canada. And Canada, far from being a passive observer, is seizing the moment. Carney's government is positioning the country as a global leader in energy, AI, critical minerals, and cybersecurity. Microsoft's investment is not charity. It is a bet on Canada's trajectory, a bet that Canada will be a more stable and successful hub for the next quarter century than the United States under Trump. What's even more telling is how other countries and companies are responding to the same climate of instability. European partners have begun shifting long-term research initiatives into Canada. Asian investors are expanding clean tech operations in Alberta and Ontario. Even US-based multinationals have quietly increased hiring in Canadian tech hubs because the political risk is lower. All of this reinforces one simple truth. Canada is becoming the safe harbor in a turbulent geopolitical era, a role the United States used to play.
When an American corporation tells Canadians, you can depend on us even when you can't depend on your neighbor, the old idea of an unshakable Canada-US partnership is gone. Microsoft's $19 billion investment is more than a business decision. It is a statement about power, trust, and the new geography of innovation. It is a recognition that Canada is no longer simply an extension of the U.S. tech market, but a sovereign digital nation with the leverage to attract global players on its own terms. Trump did not intend to strengthen Canada, but through instability, he has done exactly that. And the question now is whether this shift marks a temporary detour or the beginning of a long era in which Canada becomes the Western world's stable alternative to Washington's volatility. If U.S. allies and U.S. companies continue turning to Canada for certainty, then the center of North American leadership may be moving north faster than anyone expected. Canada may not have asked for this moment, but it is rising to meet it. And in a world shaped by technological power, data security, and global competition, the nation that others trust most will be the one that leads. Right now, increasingly, that nation is Canada.